What's up, everybody? This is John with Archer Film. All right, this next filmmaker is Ty West. So what's interesting about him, I've been watching his stuff for a few years. He's got his new movie coming out, Maxxxine, which actually looks really good, and it's got an all-star cast, so it kind of proves that he's finally at this point where he can get anyone he wants for his movies based on his recent track record. But I'm going to go back to the beginning and the first things that I've seen from him. What makes him an interesting filmmaker to me is, you know, just like M. Night used his screenwriting to get him himself in the director's chair, Ty West, he uses the fact that, like, he just goes out and does it. And that is just impressive to me, to no end. Like, this guy just really goes for it. And you can tell in his first couple of movies, I'm only going to go through his features, and his first one was The Roost. This movie, I remember seeing it on, some channel years and years ago, late night, but it's okay. It's not a bad movie. It's a little slow at points, and you can tell the budget, was not there. It looks like it was shot on a VHS camera, and again, it was made by Larry Fessenden and Glass Eye Pix. In the early 2000s, you could sell a movie with a budget of 10 grand, and you could make 20, 30 grand off of it, because the pipeline for like Blockbuster and these other, video stores, they needed product. Every week they needed new product, and the studios were only making so much. So you could actually make a great deal of money making low-budget movies, and that's what Larry Fessenden was doing in the horror world. He was kind of known for that stuff. He would come in on a project and give a little finishing money and stuff like that. A great patron of low-budget horror movie, Larry Fessenden. But anyway, The Roost by Ty West, it's okay. Then he goes on to do Triggerman. Again, this looks like it was shot on a $500 camcorder from Best Buy, or at the time it was probably Circuit City. And it looks like it. I didn't see it, I haven't seen it, but it looks very cheap. And again, what I'm impressed by is his just do it no matter what. His next film, which is the one that kind of broke him out and gave him a career, was The House of the Devil. It is a sort of, I just watched it again recently, it's a sort of retro, 80s slasher, like Satanic Panic type thing. It's not bad. There's nothing unique in it to me. Like, it's done well. There's a couple of creepy moments. It's basically the big debut of Greta Gerwig, who you can tell is a star in this movie, and she looks straight out of the 80s. I love the production design. Tom Noonan's in it as well, always creepy and unsettling. And there's just, to me, it's a very run-of-the-mill movie. The fact that he did it, and for little money, I guess is impressive. It had a great production design. The poster's awesome. And that kind of like broke him on the scene. There's nothing new in the movie, so I was not as impressed as other people. And again, he used his success from that to make Cabin Fever 2, Spring Fever. It is awful. I think Eli Roth produced it, because Eli Roth wrote and directed the original Cabin Fever, which, if you've not seen the original Cabin Fever, check it out. It is grotesque, it is gory, it is fun, it is sexy. It is just a fun horror movie, and it is the one that broke Eli Roth into the horror scene, and for good reason. Like, it's just a very entertaining horror movie. It's fantastic. But Cabin Fever 2, although it had some really gory, over-the-top, messed-up moments, which I always appreciate in horror, it's just a bad movie. It just straddles the line between laughable horror and just like, just too stupid. So skip Cabin Fever 2. Next, he gets back into form, in my opinion, on The Innkeepers. Basically, The Innkeepers was inspired by when he was shooting House of the Devil. Him and his crew stayed at this hotel, the Yankee Peddler Inn. I think that was the name of it. And people said it was haunted, and the crew had experiences, he had experiences. And so he got inspired to write this other movie called The Innkeepers, which I kind of dug. The cast is good. It's very spare. It's just sort of an old school, fun, haunted house sort of story with a really pretty solid theme and good performances. I've seen it twice, and there's not a lot going on there. It's just kind of like his other movies. Like, they're fun, but there's just no depth to them. Then he goes on to make a segment from VHS, which broke on the scene as a really intriguing found footage horror anthology. And it was actually really smartly done, I thought. It's about like these group of kids who get paid to, steal a VHS from this house. They get there, there's a lot of VHSs, and they start watching them, and each one has a more sadistic, messed up, horrific thing on it, which was a cool premise. And some of the stories are really fun. And it kind of was the explosion of found footage. It's not Blair Witch, but it's 12 years after that. And, it's actually a pretty good entry into the whole found footage thing. He also did ABCs of Death. Those kind of bored me. And then he does The Sacrament a couple years later, which is also found footage. It's actually pretty good. The premise is a little simple. Once again, he uses these premises, and this one is kind of like a Jonestown Massacre thing. It's about like these reporters who go infiltrate this religious cult with this enigmatic leader, and it ends in carnage. Nothing new. Again, a couple of horrific moments, but it just kind of like, whatever. Then the next he does In the Valley of Violence, which was kind of a fun, comedy Western, dark comedy. It's not laugh out loud funny by any means, but it's just kind of a cool, Western with Ethan Hawke. It was all right. Again, nothing new. Then let's see, and I'm skipping all of his TV stuff because, I can't go through all of that stuff. But as far as films goes, after that, he gets back on track, I think, with X. A really fun, 70s set, horror film, with porn as the backdrop. It's, again, he's taking a genre and an era and kind of exploiting it. And it had some really cool moments. It's kind of fun. It kind of transports you back, and it's entertaining. The sequel is Pearl, an extraordinary origin story, and it was awful. I really wanted to like it. I really wanted to get into it. And in my opinion, it's so over the top and supposed to be fun, which I get. But I feel like whenever you have an actress who co-writes the script and produces it, it tends to be self-indulgent if they don't know what they're doing. And I think that Mia Goth is an amazing actress. She's very courageous and has this intensity. But I feel like there's too much indulgence in this movie, not enough horror. I kept waiting for horrific moments. I kept waiting for cool stuff. And it's neither sexy or overly gory. It just kind of bored me. And I wanted just the thing to end. I don't even know if I watched the end because it was so boring to me. And again, this is the thing with Ty West. I can appreciate his throwback stuff, capturing different eras. But there's something missing. There's a lack of it's not overly gory. It's not overly sexy. It's not overly deep or thoughtful or thought-provoking. They just kind of exist. Again, I appreciate his gusto, and I appreciate him making all these movies. It takes an immense amount of time, effort, and energy, and money, and resources to make films, and I appreciate genre filmmakers like this. But there's just something missing to his movies. I am hoping that Maxxxine is not the same way because it looks really interesting. It looks like there's a lot going on. It's just that, X is mildly entertaining. House of the Devil, mildly entertaining. Innkeepers, I liked a little bit more, but he just hasn't really made anything that blows you away. It's almost like he's just putting a bunch of pieces from other movies and other eras together, and fortunately he gets great casts and some good performances that kind of obscure the fact that he's a very boring filmmaker, in my opinion. But I am looking forward to Maxxxine. I'm gonna check it out. Again, I like horror. I like genre. I like, throwback movies like this, so I will be checking it out. It's just that, I don't have a lot of faith in this guy, especially up against, some of the other horror filmmakers of today, or even some of his Splat Pack brethren from the 2000s. I'm going to make a video about the Splat Pack. If you've not heard of this, it's a very cool concept, and I'm going to be making a video next, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.